Hey, Brandon here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another episode of the 2023 NFL Draft Rookie Report. We've been off for 2 weeks, and it feels great to be back on the mic with my co-host, Jason DiRienzo. He is co-founder of the Devy Watch, as well as a recent graduate of the Scouting Academy. Welcome back, Jason. We took a 2-week hiatus. We took some time off.
Yeah.
We are back. We are going to talk about Roschon Johnson tonight. Exciting Texas running back. We're going to take a look at his 2022 film. We're going to talk about his expected draft capital as well as his future dynasty value. He's kind of this time of year, it's beginning of March. We always have these guys start to kind of rise and creep up as possible sleepers. So I've been hearing a lot of talk about him maybe starting to rise in the running back ranks. It's going to be an interesting show, and it's going to be interesting to see if you see we both see eye to eye on this player or not. But let's get right to it, Jason. We are going to talk Roschon Johnson, 6'2", 223 pounds, came to Texas. He's a 4-year senior, came to Texas as a quarterback, ended up kind of, here we are looking at him as a running back. So he kind of switched positions a little bit. We're going to take a look at some stats here. He rushed for 392 yards over 4 seasons, 2,182 yards, 23 touchdowns, averaging 5.6 yards per carry. So he's been super productive. The guy's got he's got some hands, 56 receptions over 4 years, 420 yards, 3 TDs for a 7.5 average. So let's get to some PFF stats. Zone and gap, 70% he is in zone, 30% he was in gap. Yards after contact. This is the first kind of topic I wanted to talk to you about. He was second in the class this year at 4.28 yards after contact. All right. John was number 3. Okay. Dwayne McBride was number 1. So probably makes a lot of sense, right? Given his size and physicality.
Yeah, play strength, and we're going to get into that, but I can see that, but there's ways in which I wanted to see him win more, and we'll talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So missed tackles forced, 139. That represents, over his 4 years is this 2022 stats, 35% of his runs. He basically made a guy miss. So elusive rating for PFF stats, very interesting here. 198. He freaking blew the roof off, Jason, on this particular metric at PFF. I know there's a formula for this, but John came in at 169. So, I mean, I'll tell you something. The PFF, a lot of people, you either love the company or you don't. You believe in the stats or you don't.
Right.
We're just here kind of giving you the information. But I'll tell you, I just don't see the elusive rating with him blowing.
I was going to save it, but I don't.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, blowing the doors off this. So, Jason and I, we watched a lot of all 22 film. I sent you those films, Jason. We saw no better way to watch this player. So we were fortunate enough to have a lot of all 22 film on Roschon Johnson. So let's get into his scouting report. I am anxious to hear what you have to say on this. His vision and patience. These are my notes from my scouting report that I have on my Devy to Dynasty dashboard. I'm going to kind of read them here, and then we're going to talk about all of these traits. We go through 5 traits on these shows. I thought here, this is what I wrote down. He's got good but not great vision. He takes what's given to him, but I see very little in the way of creativity and improvisation. He's patient, letting his blocks develop. Oftentimes, he takes a lot of steps before hitting the gap. I actually just recorded this afternoon. I'll post it at the end of the show, and all 22 film breakdown of his Baylor game and his Oklahoma State game. And I kind of talk about that. These are the same films that I sent you to watch. Did you see the same things that I saw?
I want to disagree at some point in this video. Hopefully we do, but I agree here. I don't see him as a creative runner. There was one play where he should have taken the gap that was given to him. Instead, he broke outside, and there wasn't a lane to develop for him, and he got nailed behind the line of scrimmage. So I think he's patient, but he's a slow processor. He doesn't see the gaps developing as they should. And I think you nailed it. He takes what is given to him, and I'm not sure how that's going to translate at the next level.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, I said in the video that he's got to be raw, right? I mean, he comes in as a quarterback. I don't think he played running back in high school. I'm not 100% sure.
I don't think he did either. And I think with that ceiling of untapped potential comes the lack of nuance at the position too. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I've also mentioned that as well. I mean, he's not fully developed yet. He's probably
Right.
still, and the fact that he didn't get the ball a lot. I mean, he got the ball a good bit. I mean, I think he had the Baylor game. He had 13 carries. That was the
Hmm.
most of any game, and that was the last game in the season. And I don't know if Bajan maybe took a back seat or not in that game. I'm not sure what the box score was. But what I talk again, I'm going to post that film at the end of the show. What I really want to talk about next, I think he's a liability a little bit, and where I can't really get on board with him to a degree where he's going to hit our dynasty roster and be a consistent producer is his footwork and lateral ability. And this is what I have in my notes here. I said he has okay footwork, not overly quick or sudden, doesn't possess great change of direction ability to make defenders miss, especially at increased speeds in the second level, won't create a lot of separation on his own. I question his hip flexibility. I think he's like a one cut and go kind of guy on those
Yeah.
films that I sent you. I mean, he did have some nice runs where the lanes kind of opened up a little bit. He did make a nice cutback, hit an A gap, B gap, whatever, and then he kind of took down the field. But most of the plays that I saw, he seemed to run indecisive, and I don't know if his feet have that really stop cut ability to without really deaccelerating and taking multiple steps to change direction.
Yeah, he's a linear runner to me. I don't see and that's where the elusive rating, I think you and I kind of squinted, be like,
Yeah,
really? Because
yeah.
that lateral agility just doesn't seem to be there. The high speed change of direction doesn't seem to be there. He kind of chips at the defenders into the second level in order to kind of use play strength and his big frame in order to just kind of get off of them because he's not eluding them with footwork or lateral agility. And that is going to be a big problem at the next level as well.
Yeah, I mean, for me, for running backs, to make it to the dynasty rosters, you have to have short area quickness and lateral ability. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to be able to adjust on the fly and make guys miss and accelerate and gain additional yardage for, again, to be a true RB1 or 2 on our dynasty roster. Acceleration and speed is the next kind of trait we take a look at here. I have here, he made Bruce Feldman's freak list. He was ranked number 26 and he hit 22.6 miles per hour on the GPS, making him one of Texas' fastest players.
Wow.
Now, listen, on those films I sent you, especially on the Oklahoma State film, he
Mhm.
had some kind of breakaway runs. Guys didn't catch him in the second level. All right. I said here he has very good acceleration for his size and has the ability to break long runs for chunk yardage, but I don't think he's going to be that home run hitter. And at 6'2, 226, I don't think anyone's expecting him to be that kind of home run hitter. So I don't think his long speed necessarily is going to, be a detriment to him because what you win in the first 10 to 15 yards in the NFL is really what's most expected. I'm more
Right.
concerned about his acceleration, and I just didn't see a guy who, when the lane opened up or he felt as though that he had the gap and he took off, he just didn't have that acceleration I think you need to be really successful in the NFL. I hate to sound like I'm really down on the guy, but I just got to call it like I see it.
Right. No, that's exactly what we're doing here, right? My issue is I really don't care how fast he is. He could run in the 4.3s, but he has to get through that first and second level first in order for that speed to actually mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And if he's not able to have good vision, elude, evade in the trenches, and then show the creativity to kind of know when to bounce outside or get through the middle, there's not going to be an option for him to even use that speed on breakaways if he can't even get past that. So the speed's great, but I think there's a lot more that needs to be done within the first 5 to 8 yards for him to be, a consistent running back at the next level.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you. I was a little disappointed with as much hype as he seems to be getting right now as a
Mhm.
sleeper. I'm not sure people are watching a lot of film on him, but strength and contact balance. Listen, no one's going to question the guy's strength. His contact balance looked good. However, he runs a little high with pad level. I think that can be
Mhm.
taught. He can get a little lower, but I'll tell you, a lot of those plays on that film I sent you, Jason. I mean, he runs into congestion with his pad level kind of high, and there was a lot of times where he was getting pushed backwards, where a guy of his size I felt should have been holding his ground and maybe dragging some tacklers.
Right. I mean, you see the play strength on display at times, but I agree with you. He plays too upright. And I think again, that's just where he's still learning the position. Like,
Mhm.
and it's not like he had consistency as a starter either to get the experience. Like he was behind the best running back to come out since Saquon Barkley. That's really tough to kind of get the opportunity to continually develop. But you got to be careful with a guy like this too, because this is a projection that we should get excited about. And I think the projection of the ceiling is definitely there if he can put it all together. So I think the size and the strength, you can't coach that. Right. So that's a big deal. If he could put everything else together, I feel much better about this. But yeah, the pad level has got the lower because he's just going to get knocked back, just like you said.
So his pass catching ability, I think I have here written, he had 14 receptions in 2022. He appears to be comfortable handling, screen passes and dump offs, but I don't believe he's a threat downfield to run any kind of vertical passes and be, heavily involved in the running game. But I think if he were to spell a NFL starter and he could possibly be in a three down role and not have to be taken off the field for his pass catching. So his pass catching, again, in Dynasty, right? We all want the guys that we want our cake and eat it too, right? We want the guy that can get the yardage and the touchdowns, but we want those PPR points too. So I don't think he's going to be a detriment in that. But again, he wasn't involved heavily in the passing game. One thing I do want to talk about before we talk about, draft capital and his, his dynasty value and potential and projection is the fact that everything you read about this guy is he's a teammate. He's the first in, last out of the building. He was really one of the vocal leaders of that team. And the coach is going on record saying that they're going to miss that in him. He was a teammate that everyone looked up to, respected, hard worker, positive, got the team riled up every week. So I think NFL teams, when they interview him at the combine or pro days or whatever, are really going to fall in love with him and his desire to play this game.
Yeah, and that's the part where I say we got to be careful, because the projection is what we should get excited about. Obviously, if they're saying this, the work ethic is there too, meaning that he loves the game. He's going to put in the work. He can only get better at this point, especially going to an NFL team where he's going to have NFL, trainers and, high caliber nutritionists and different things like that. I like that for a guy that can, he's a nice mold to put together. So the teammate aspect to it, some team is going to fall in love with that part of it.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I wish I had my own nutritionist. I'm not going to lie.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk
Someone
about
just cook for me all the time.
It'd be like if I had money, dude, I wouldn't have a limo, or I'd have a freaking chef making me dinner every night. All right. So let's talk about the NFL draft capital. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's guys saying he's a day 2 pick. I don't know. I mean, some teams got to really fall in love with him. I have here rounds 3 through 5. I think I could easily see him just really a round 4 or 5 round pick. I'm just right now having a hard time believing. I mean, this running back class, there's a lot of question marks, but do you see him like an early day or an early round 3 guy, or
no. I see late 3, possibly early 4, just due to the fact that he is a good blocker. And I think teams are going to covet that. He could play special teams if they use him in that sense. And I think that adds value too. He's a bigger running back, and he was behind Robinson. I think we really haven't gotten a chance to see what he's fully capable of doing. And I think that's going to intrigue some NFL teams. So I think the back end of 3 is right, but I have 3 to 5. That's probably a sweet range.
Okay, his rookie draft selection in the mocks that I've been doing, I've done 4 or 5 for my dashboard. He's going late round 2. That was on the last one, but in the early ones that we did, we've been doing them for a month and a half. He was late round 3. So he seems to be kind of creeping up there with all the positive talk about him. But I don't know. I think he's going to be a round 3 or 4 round pick after the draft.
Yeah, I think landing spot is going to be key for him, but I could see anywhere from mid-second to late 3rd, just because the running back position is going to be so coveted that you're going to want to get some of these guys that have the size, and he has that.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's going to definitely inflate him. Some guys.
His speed score is probably going to be good too, and that's going to get analytic guys going crazy.
Yeah, that's very true. So his fantasy ceiling, I'm looking at an RB4 possibly in the NFL. I personally don't believe Johnson is starter material. I think he's going to be drafted as a backup guy who might spot start. But I just don't see him. I mean, we were talking on my Slack chat for the dashboard. We were saying, well, could he have an Algier type season? And I'm just not sure. Algier, I know he was a 5th round draft pick, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so again, landing spot, opportunity is king, right? So Algier got an opportunity, ran for 1,000 yards. Who knows? A lot of people think he's a buy. A lot of people think he's a sell. But I would be very surprised if Johnson here rather had a first year season like Algier did.
Yeah, I don't see that happening, and I see him in the RB3 territory. I think you nailed it. He could fill in for a guy who goes down, but again, I'm not sure if he's going to be that running back that gets any more than 60 yards and maybe a couple catches for 20. That sort of situation.
Right, right. So as far as a player comp, and I'm going to come out on record saying I'm not very good at comps, but we're putting them in these shows anyway. I had Deontay Foreman, guy who unfortunately tore his Achilles, but I
Yeah.
kind of see a similar running style, not much lateral, ability going left to right, but more of a one cut, bigger, bruising kind of guy. And I could see a career like Foreman where he fills in for a team that just is lacking a playmaker at the running back position, fills in for a year or two, bounces maybe from team to team, trying to find an opportunity.
What a final season he had at Texas. Man, I thought he was gonna be fantastic.
I
But
know,
yeah, I
I
can
know.
I can I can see that. I can absolutely see that comp. I like that comp a lot. I chose Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon, I think, has better lateral fluid agility, but at the same time, I think the way the vision reminds me of Trey Sermon, the power reminds me of Trey Sermon, some of the pass catching abilities. So I see some similarities there.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Trey Sermon? Well, shit, he should be a fifth round rookie pick. Yeah, yeah, got to get on the
Well, we
field.
didn't
That's what you're
know.
telling me.
I'm
It's,
talking like from college to the
I
NFL. Who
know.
knows what happened with Trey Sermon? You know what I mean?
Dude, I
That's got to
loved
be a mental.
I love Trey Sermon. I thought Trey
Yeah,
Sermon was in my top 3 or 4 2 years ago in my running back class.
yeah, I
I
liked him
don't
too.
know, and I don't know. He can't even sniff the field, so he's a dead asset. But all right,
Yeah.
guys, there is our show for Roschon Johnson. We'll have to see how he comes. I mean, we got the combine coming up this week, and we'll have to see what his draft capital is, his landing spot. As we all know, those 3 factors play a role in his success in hitting our dynasty roster. So we're gonna have shows like this. This was actually our 23rd episode. So we've done, Bijan Robinson, Gibbs, Tillman, Mims, Spears, all sorts of players. So hit that subscribe button. Thanks for tuning in and subscribe to the channel and tune in to our next episode. We're going to do Parker Washington next. Thanks for watching.